Hi, everybody, and welcome to my session of the Facebook. Hi, all you Facebook people, and hi, everybody here in the room. I'm so glad to see everybody. And this is, I'm going to tell you some things that nobody knows, and I'm going to share part of my life with you. And I'm going to start out with my mother, my dad. Now, we've been talking about different years in some of the other segments, but this is back in the 40s, 1946, 1946. The World War II was over. My dad came back from the war. My mother was, she was an executive secretary for Chrysler. You know, he's one of the big shots. So my dad, when he came home, he made my mom leave her job without giving a notice. And then, you know, it's like that was the beginning of her oppression. So there she was pregnant with me, and was after the Navy and too early for insurance. So I was an uninsured baby, you know, I was before insurance. So here my mom was struggling. It was just after World War II. She's married to my father. And all these women are throwing themselves at him, and she's pregnant with me. So she went through all this, you know, difficulty, losing her own personality, feeling guilty about not even being allowed to give a notice to her work. And so she got really depressed. And in her depression, she stopped eating. And so she literally starved me out. So I was born a 7-month baby. And back then in the 40s, they put you know, I mean, now 7 months, that's a good size baby, but back in the 40s, it wasn't. So they had me in the incubator for a month, and I was 21 inches long. I was 4 pounds. I went down to 3. And my mom said I looked like a starving child from Africa. I was just nothing but skin and bones. And also, back then they put oxygen in the incubators. So I had to put a red overlay over my eyes. And that, a red overlay there's one of 3 reasons that a child will do it. It's from birth to 3 years old. A child has a conscious choice between birth and 3. It's either abandonment, you know, if the child's abandoned, you know, and so they don't know who they are or where they came, or abuse, physical or sexual. Or for me, in order to protect my eyes, I had to put the red overlay because I had too much to do in this world. Now, my mother, having this child and being very depressed, and before insurance, I was, you know, it was expensive because, I mean, they saved the price. I know I was $385. And when you figure how much money they were making back in the 40s, it wasn't very much. So I'm sure they had to do payment plans. And she was, you know, just like any new parent, you know, they don't give you a note how to raise a child, especially back in the 40s. So, you know, I think I was a very quiet child. And at 2 years old, they called me baby grown-up. And everyone was amazed because I was talking to grown-ups like a grown-up. So they called me baby grown-up. And at 3 years old, my mother told me a story, and this must have been when I was around 2. She said she was reading a book, and I was hungry, so I was pulling on her arm, and she said she shook me off and said, just let me finish this paragraph or something. And it must have been so interesting that it stuck on my mind. Books are that important, but she felt guilty, and so she said she went and fed me, you know, and that. I taught myself to read at 3 years old, you know, and then I had the whole life opened up because I was able to use my imagination, and I was able to, you know, go on adventures in all these books. You know, mind you, they were just little kid books, but it was still an adventure. And I was also before television, and my television didn't come into my house till my sister was born in 52. Now, she's 6 years younger than me. Which it was television. It was just one of those little round things in a big, huge box, and it was real fuzzy. You know, it was hard to see, but you know, it was a television. My sister and my parents, they loved that. Me, I looked at that like, whatever. I'd rather read a book or listen to the radio or play records or something like that. When I'm telling you that my parents allowed me to live, I pretty much was on my own because my mother was dealing with her depression and my father and, you know, his whatever he wanted. I mean, I love my father, but, you know, and even in, you know, the later days, he would have a table full of food and he'd stare at something and you had to guess what he wanted to give it to him. He couldn't ask past the meat. He couldn't say ask the potatoes, you know. So, I mean, it was that way with my own, you know, self of being an only child till I was 6 and having my father trying to make us read his mind. And, you know, with that kind of a nervousness, you know, I was kind of on my own and I wasn't told that you weren't supposed to be able to see people glowing. You know, I didn't know that, you know. So I saw people glowing and for me it was no big deal. It was like when a light switch comes on, you have a light turn on. You don't talk about the glowing, you know. I mean, oh, the light's on, whoa, you know. People look like you're nuts. So why would I talk to anybody about glowing? I really didn't have anyone to talk to anyway, you know, about that and a lot of other things. I mean, there's so many unwritten rules that I don't know how you're supposed to figure them out. You know, you pick them out of the air somehow, you know. I mean, like an unwritten rule, you can mix hot and cold water to brush your teeth. I always use cold water because my mom used cold water. I didn't know you could mix it. And when I was in a relationship, they said, you know, they thought I was harassing them. I wasn't. I didn't know you could do that, you know. So, I mean, that was just a stupid example of an unwritten rule. So, this glowing, I didn't really think there was any big deal about it. But I was working at the post office, and one of my coworkers came running up to me. And I said, "Are you okay?" And he wouldn't talk to me. And I'm throwing flats, and they're like magazines and stuff like that. We had to break it down in sections. And I realized that he wasn't glowing. I thought, oh, he's not glowing. I wonder what's wrong with him. I don't know what that means. So I dropped everything and I went and looked for him. And he went in the men's bathroom and died. So that's when I thought, ooh, if you're not glowing, you're going to die. I thought, wow. So after that, that's when I got this thing about airplanes. I wanted to see the pilot and co-pilot to make sure they were glowing. Because if they were glowing, I was going to be kicking and screaming on that. I'm not getting on that plane. So, and I still do that to this day. You know, because, you know, I mean, and then on an airplane, we had this situation where our plane, we were coming back from Vegas down to Detroit, and the plane dropped 500 feet, which must have been an air pocket or something. Some of the luggage came down and that. And people are crying and screaming, and I looked around at them all, and I says, oh, you're all glowing. I says, we'll be just fine. We'll get in Detroit fine. So everybody quieted down. Apparently I had enough authority, and I didn't even know that was authority, you know. But then again, I still thought it was glowing. And one of my other coworkers, he and I worked the midnight shift, and we were both walking out to go back to work. Well, he had a heart attack. He went down, but he was still glowing. I looked around and I said, anyone know CPR? I said, someone call the fire department and CPR, we'll keep him. And I ran 2 doors down. There was a fire hall 2 doors down. And I'm pounding on the door, and the guy comes up. He says, we only answer the phone. Ring. That's the phone. It'll be the post office 2 doors down. My friend, you know, he had a heart attack. So they came over, you know, and everything. And then he wanted to go back to work after they gave him oxygen and all that stuff. I said, you had a heart attack. You got to go back to work. So I didn't even know at that time, you know, about auras. So what happened is my life changed. You know, I got a divorce. He hit me. I left him. I wasn't going to get hit twice. It was stupid the reason, but it doesn't matter. Neither here nor there. So then I went to a feminist therapist because I was kind of like, ugh, you know. and in the times that I visited her, there was like a bulletin board over there in the corner. And all of a sudden I saw this thing look like a mouse. It was jumping on upside down and around on both sides and, looking around. So I looked over there and I was laughing because it was funny the way it was jumping around all over the board. And so the therapist, she said, "What are you laughing at?" And I said, "Well, there's this thing jumping around your bulletin board." And then it gets a little weird because she said, "Well, I dreamed I was in the land of two, and then I divided myself so that I could, understand people better." I said, "Okay." And she said, "I was just thinking of what I was going to put on that bulletin board." And then I got mad. I said, "So you're more important than the bulletin board than listening to me. I mean, after all, I came here, I'm paying you money, And so she called me down, but she says, "Do you know what that is?" I said, "I haven't the faintest idea. Thing jumping around there." She said, "Well, that's an aura." Aura. Ooh, huh. That's interesting. I never heard that word before. So, so then I went and I found some books and I looked at them and I'm thinking, boy, this one says this one says that. It's confusing. And then I had, then this lady, famous woman from California came. Her name was Barbara Bowers. Yeah, I have her book. And so she came there, and if you don't really know me, when I'm in a different situation where I'm not comfortable at all, I turn into a turtle. Peek. So I went in the back of the room, and I'm just kind of peeking out like, "Oh, Aura," I mean, I was really nervous, And I finally relaxed because she didn't seem to be like a monster or anything. She was cool. And all of a sudden, she looked at me and she says, "You're a yellow with a red overlay, and you see them too. Get up here." So she pulled me to the front of the room, and I went up. Okay. "What color do you see there?" And I told her. "What color do you see there?" I told her. Then she started telling me what they meant. I thought, oh. So, once I got to that point where I realized what she thought that they would mean, I thought, wow, that's kind of like almost, unless it's with permission, that's almost like, spying on people. Because you have to understand, when I was working with the deaf people, which I was telling them before I started online, that I learned sign language from the deaf people, and I used to communicate with them. And one of the ethics rules is that if I'm telling this person what this person's saying, and I'm sharing their conversation so they can understand, after the conversation's over, I don't have it anymore. It was between them. It has nothing to do with me. I was just with the opportunity to be able to share. So I took that with my aura, learning to aura read. I learned to turn it down, where I've had a lot of people, "Oh, if I knew how to see an aura, I'd be using it all the time." Well, do you want to make people uncomfortable? Of course not. I mean, in this room, you're my victim, so you get to be picked on. But, I learned to kind of turn it down and then ask permission. And when, it says, I said, "Would you allow it?" Then I would go into the person, and then I would read them and talk to them. Now, back in the 80s, it's funny, we were talking about the 80s in another group. And then back in the 80s, I did this. I read people's auras, and when they had tears in their aura, I repaired them, But I'm not one of these persons, back in the 80s, I'm not criticizing anybody. I mean, everybody's got to make a living, and I get it. But once I read somebody's aura, and I took care of their aura, and I balanced their auras, and whatever I needed to do back then, I didn't want, unless they wanted to come back, they didn't have to come back. I wasn't trying to get repeat customers. I was just trying to help people. Well, in the 80s, there's so many people that read Phenomenews. That was a paper that talked about all the availabilities of different, psychic things you could do. So I kind of ran out of people, to be honest with you, because I didn't want, I didn't want to take advantage of people, and I didn't want them to come back unless they wanted to come back. And some wanted to come back, and we would get deeper on it, but it kind of got out of, in the 80s, everyone was doing New Age. If you remember the New Age, it was a New Age era, so everybody was kind of trying different things and new things. Well, I didn't see where that was going to really benefit, me. I mean, I got the people, I read their auras, and I fixed their auras, and I also did a lot of body work. I did, I did Jin Shin Do, Shiatsu, Myofascial, upper cranial, Jin Shin Do, reflexology, energy balancing, and crystal work. So, I mean, I did a combination of all these things to people after I did the aura readings. So the aura reading kind of went, under the table, and I just worked with, the other things. So, and, it's always been on my mind, but and even when I'm going to do the expo, I'm going to do a workshop, and it's going to be a combination of the aura reading with teaching you how to create an energy circle with rocks and crystals, and actually putting each person in and giving them a mini reading of, their things, because I feel like it's more of a combination of a lot of different things. But on this one, today, this aura workshop, I'm going to talk about, what my perceptions of aura reading. Now, there's a lot of different books and a lot of different ideas and a lot of different views. I have to tell you that this is my perception. I've looked at all these things, and it's my idea. There's no right or there's no wrong. Everyone, as much as we have individual people in this room, there a lot of different people have their individual perceptions of auras and what they see. But for me, everybody has a core color, and there, then there's the like aura photography. You have your other emotions, if you're having pain and stuff like that. And I have to tell you, once again, which reminds me of another little story, which I'm always going to be popping in my stories because that's the way I am. I went to an Ann Arbor psychic fair, and there was this guy, he was doing acupuncture. And I thought that was interesting. So this guy was asking him questions. Now, I had no idea that the guy was a newspaper man and he was interviewing him. I didn't know, So he was asking him all these questions, and then the guy stuck a needle in his finger, his hand, and he was moving it, and I'm watching the energy shoot out of his fingers, and I'm going, wow, that really works. And the guy says, what do you mean? And now he's looking at me, and I said, well, I could see the energy shooting out of his fingers, so I know that he's moving this energy around. And so then he wanted to be, oh no, you're not interviewing me, you're interviewing him, never mind about me. But I did try the acupuncture for a little while, and actually this doctor wanted me to work with him for cancer patients. But I didn't have time because I had a full-time job. A lot of times you have opportunities, but with a full-time job, you just can't take the opportunities. And it's happened to me over and over again. I took a seated chair massage in Ann Arbor. They wanted me to become a full-time teacher and told me it was an honor for me to be there. I said, well, thank you, but I have a full-time job. Thank you very much, but I'm moving on. Because I just wanted to see what seating a chair massage, I wanted to see if I would like it. It wasn't enough for me. I need hands-on. I need to touch. I need to work on people. I don't want to just lean them on a chair and rub here and rub there and expect they're going to be better. That doesn't happen. Not that seated chair massage isn't good for people, and all these people that are seated in chairs workers, I think you do a great job. It's just my personal opinion. For me, it wasn't enough. And if it's enough for you, I think that's awesome. So, I don't want to ever upset anybody. I'm just saying, that's how I felt. I took an upper cranial class in Lapeer. I might not have known all the muscles and all that stuff, but I was able to keep up with the front of the class, and they were all surprised and happy that I showed up. And they said, wow, you're pretty cool. And I said, well, thank you. But I said, you're cool too, because I only took the class to learn about headaches, because I had someone that had bad headaches, so I wanted to see what I could do. So anyway, I know that's kind of getting off the subject, but now I'll go back to the subject about auras. The core colors. And everybody has a core color like tan. There's a tans colors, and that a lot of times the tan colors will be people that can be detached from others. Like a lawyer. I mean, they have to help people in all different types of lives. And you can't get too attached to this. You have to be, detached. So they have to be able to do that. So it takes a special person to be a lawyer. It really does. And I mean, I think it's wonderful that we have the people that do that. Another core color is a green. There's a couple different types of green. There's a light green, and then there's a Kelly green, and then there's a really dark green. And all three of the greens have to do with healing, and they have to work on people, to help our animals, they to make them feel better. If they're not working on in some way, or they're like working with children, or working in a field where they can, like a psychotherapist or psychologist or psychiatrist, those type of people. I mean, it takes a special person to sit there and listen to everybody, and not just go, oh. And greens can do that. A doctor can be compassionate. He's got patients that are dying of cancer or something, and it just. But knowing that he can maybe make them comfortable before they go. So I mean, those are some of the green colors. People that are green, and they also like nature, and a lot of times that's how they get their comfort after they have to deal with everything. They can go out in nature and and just kind of regroup themselves. And then there's the different kind of purples. Now all your purples, your deep purple or your light purple and your lavenders, all those people, one thing about they all have in common is they all have a little bit of being naive. Like you could sell them the Brooklyn Bridge, But now that I told all you purples, nobody will ever sell you the bridge, because you know that you're not. So you're going to take things with a grain of salt, But the other thing about lavenders and purples, anything that they choose to be, anything that they choose, they can do well at. Sometimes it takes them a while to find their niche. But once they find their niche, man, they're so good at it. They can just, they're excellent, they excel at it, but they're not limited to I mean, they could go into healing, they could go into anything. I mean, I really do. Now, another color that I like, and that's, I mean, I like them all. I love all the colors. But the blues. Now, Ethan is a yellow, but he has a blue. He's got a lot of blue in him, which is the analytical and prove it to me and stuff like that. And actually, I have to tell you, of all the colors, blue is my favorite color because it's always a challenge. They're the doubting Thomas. You have to prove it to them. But once you prove it to them, they're on board 150%. But it's that's challenge to try to prove that to somebody. That's a challenge that I like, that challenge, where the other ones they're going to be more accepting, of the colors. But the blues, they're the ones that are the more difficult ones to, it's just a challenge, and it's so much fun. And I know a few blue people, and the blue aura colors. Now the yellows, Ethan and I are yellow, but he's, like I said, he's got a lot of blue in his. Which you can be more than one color, I mean, we are all a multitude of rainbow colors. We all are. The core color, and then you can enhance it with other colors, but you've got a lot of strong blue in your color, Ethan, So he's got yellow, which is the youngest and the oldest of the aura colors. That means you either started out or you've been around the block a few times. Well, we've both been around the block a few times. So, and you can repeat that. you can change, and the let's see, I talked about the greens, the yellows, the blues, the tans. Um, oh, now we got to talk about some of the other colors. Now, I met, and since the 80s, they really didn't talk about some of the other colors, like the indigo children and the indigo children and the crystalline children. Now those were newer. Now the indigo children, the indigo colors, they're bringing out the new age in the world, and they started probably out in the 80s, 90s. I think we started hearing about the indigo children. And what they've done, how they've helped the world, how they've gone to different places, and they've picked themselves up where people wouldn't want to even go there. I've heard all kinds of stories of it, and I've seen some indigo children, but they didn't come in until around the 80s, 90s, and now we have the crystalline colors, and then through the years, there's crystalline, but nobody's ever talked about the crystalline. There's nothing written in there. There's nothing in the books, and I had this lady, I think she's in her 30s or 40s, and yet she has a crystalline aura. And even me, I've been told that lately, because of all the work that I'm doing, I'm kind of got a crystalline aura coming in too with the rainbow, for me, I always just see that, the love. She says, you got so much love, that you just radiate love, and also I'm a connector. I'm like a bridge where I connect people to other people. I even had a picture drawn up for me sitting down with a reptilian friendly one. And I'm sitting there with all these bridges that I'm reaching out to people and connecting them. So that was kind of cool. But the crystalline people, and they're, it's like a new type of energy. It's like connecting us to the more of the psychic world, more of the metaphysical, more of to open up your mind to the new what's coming on in the future, and so you didn't see very much of that in the past, but we have a lot of crystalline children now, and they, as well as the indigos and the crystalline, and they're doing amazing things. They're the children are, coming out, and they're making new things. They're creating. There was one girl that crystalline energy. She was creating something that could take care of cancer. And, they're advancing our technology. It's amazing. I personally can't think of anything right now, but my higher self is saying that they're on the forefront of opening up new doors, and I know I've been reading about it, but for some reason it's just not coming through. Yes. Well, orange used to be a color. It's one of the core colors, but I really hadn't seen many orange people. But oranges and reds too. Well, and I like I said, I don't see too many of those. But the oranges, when I have seen them, let me tell you about. Okay, let me tell you about the reds, and then I'll get back with the oranges. The reds are fearless. People that have a red aura, they are fearless. They're the ones that jump off the planes. They're the ones that are on the forefront. They're the ones that they want to be in the military, and they want to be on the front lines, and they have this big, huge gusto for life. And the oranges, they have so much love for people. They're just, they want to help everybody. But I don't see them very often. I really don't. When I come in here, the most colors are the green, the lavenders, the yellows, and once in a while I'll see a blue, because that seems to be the core around our group, But yeah, that's why I said I didn't see. I mean, I know that they've had oranges through the years, but I have never really seen too many oranges. But I have seen oranges on some people that are spiritual, and I'm thinking I was always thinking that was an odd color for them, but they were enthusiastic and so much giving to people. They were just so. It was like, you almost, back then you wanted to say, what do you want? Because they were too nice, too kind, too nice. Back in the 80s when I was seeing them every once in a while, it was like, I didn't trust them. But I have been told that the newer oranges they're the ones that's going to give us unconditional love. Totally unconditional love, with no judgments, no anything, And so how many people do you know that actually give you unconditional love? I mean, usually that's a grandma thing, really, Grandmas give us unconditional love, and so do godparents. I give my godchildren unconditional love, and I don't care what they do. I still love them just the same, with no judgments. So, but now we're going to have more people like that in the world. So, anybody have any questions so far? Anyone have questions online or anything? Okay, all right. So, all right. So, when I learned about auras and got trained by Barbara Bowers, and then I worked with people in the 80s, then I got to the point where people, like I said, people weren't, I had talked to all the people that were doing the New Age back then. I put it on the back burners and did other things. But one of the things that I need to tell you about the auras is I had a lady that had throat cancer. And she was my beautician. And she told me, she says, my doctor said that I can't work. And I said, let's see about that. So I worked with her, and I did more than just the aura reading, but I could see this icky, cancer is this muddy brownish, greenish, yellowish, like baby poop kind of sort of. It's a kind of yucky looking color, And so I worked with her with crystals and energy work and everything like that. I kept that woman working the whole time. And then at the end of the session, and this is for you, Robin, you wanted to hear about crystals, I took a big, huge amethyst cluster and I put it on her neck and I held points to her and I was watching the aura. Her aura was changing. I was watching the healing, and I was watching the black, from the chemo and stuff, go into that rock, and then it went boom, and it shattered all over the room. Took care of that rock, didn't I? But she worked several years more as a beautician, and then she retired and moved down to Florida. That was a long time ago, but that was one of the stories that I had from being able to see the aura and actually work with people.
Got a question.
Okay.
Can aura color change during a lifetime? Also, is there any relationship between favorite colors and their aura color?
A lot of times people's auras, they'll wear what they like and what we reflect on their aura colors. Your core color never changes, but other colors can come into your life. We all have other colors around us, like heat colors and other sensations. Like I've got a lot of love around me, so I have a lot of pinks and reds that is around, but that's not my core color. But I have a lot of pink and red, and now I've noticed that there's this blue color. I've been seeing it around a lot of spiritual workers, and to me it's a new color, aura color. It's a really light, beautiful blue, and it shimmers around. People have seen it on me, and I've seen it on other light workers. And to me, my interpretation is what I asked my higher self, well, what is that? They said that it's a way of it's a spiritual awakening of your mind to opening up to more people, more opening up to the spiritual world. So as far as your aura color, no, the original color doesn't change. A lot of times people will like the colors. Like my favorite color is yellow. Now my favorite color has been yellow way before I ever knew that I was a yellow. So sometimes, yes, a lot of times your aura, you will pick those colors as your favorite color, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're picking that color, but a lot of people do. So, did that answer?
Another question. Do people's auras change colors when they are in different positions? For example, like a grandmother to a grandchild, but when the grandmother's at work, does she change colors when she faces her boss?
Well, like I said, once again, when a grandmother sees a grandchild, she's going to be showing that grandchild a lot of pink and red and love colors. When she's going to her boss, besides her regular color, she's probably going to put up some kind of defense, because a lot of times bosses aren't always the nicest thing to have to deal with. So what you do is you kind of put up a mental barrier, like a shield. It might be black, it might be gray, it could be like a healing color, a green. You could put a green up, because a green is healing. So if your boss is trying to harass you and you put this green up, that perhaps you'll give that greenish color, so maybe they'll be a little easier on you, and you choose your colors. You don't really know you're doing it, but you do choose your colors, and it depends on how you feel about the person. And I found that when I had a situation where somebody was psychically attacking me, I sent them love, and the attack immediately went away. So in my opinion, the best thing to do with people is to send them love, especially if they're mad at you or something. Give them love, because that'll change their attitude. They might, maybe not right away, but you keep on it, and they have nothing to yell at you about, because you're not arguing with them, you're not fighting with them. You're sending them something good in their life, and a positive thing. So that's I found that worked for me.
Is seeing a faint tan or white outline, maybe 4 to 6 inches wide, surrounding the head and shoulders and arms against a white wall an aura?
Yes, it is. It's the first beginning of how you can see your auras. There's so many layers on your auras, but the inner color, inner one is when you're first learning to see them, is a white and outline of your body. Now, head and shoulders is really easy to see. Is easier to see. A lot of times when I'll check myself, I'll be in the car and I'll put my hand down there and where it's darker, and I'll see it glow. So when I was teaching an aura class before, I brought a white sheet and a black sheet. And I told people to stand in front of both of them, because some people will see it, the aura, and by the white sheet, and other people will see the aura by the black sheet, because it's always your perception, of the color. Your inner color, will be around around that. And then you keep getting layers of colors, which can be different colors depending on your feelings and emotions. And as you come here, it gets wider and taller, and it can be any color. It can be white, it can be blue, it can be green. It's whatever your emotions are at the time. If you're happy and you're feeling loving towards anyone, it can be just such a beautiful red or pink, Or if you're trying to heal from something, or you're trying to, pray for people, it'll be a green color that'll come around. And, it's more like a conscious decision of what you want to project. And now on other things that I've done with auras, when I was working on people with health issues, or I see something about people, like I'll see gray or black on their shoulders, and I know, oh, you got stress here. Let me see what I can do. The other day I was in Napoleon, Ohio, and I went and looked at this one lady, and I said, you got issues with your lower back. I was seeing a lot of gray around her lower back, and she said, yeah, I was giving her some pain, and she was shocked that I picked that up. And I walked in, and another lady says, well, I always want to know my aura color, and I looked at her, I said, oh, you're a lavender. I said, that's free. So, I do things like that. I just, and she'd always wanted to go to an aura reader, so I just gave her a little hint. I said, that's all I'm going to tell you. But your feelings and emotions and stuff, will also reflect, because you have more than one color. Your core color is one color, but then you have your health colors. Sometimes there's a stress, you have stress levels, so it can be black or gray, and around my knees sometimes they don't look so good. I'm going, the other colors that you can have is, will be your feelings and emotions. If you're angry, I used to see a lot of red flying around the room in the break room, and I'm so, okay, today the clerks are upset. I'm not going in there, and I just go outside, So a lot of red flying around the room is angry. They were probably angry at the boss, or they were, angry about something. So I didn't want to deal with that negativity, and other times you would see, like a green, and people would be just kind of calm and just doing their own thing, I think, so I go in and just, visit. So, people, you all can set your own set in a room. You can go into a room and you can set your own intentions. And you can set, you can say, I'm coming in here with peace. I'm going to send peace, which is white and green and maybe pinks, because I don't want to deal with anything negative, today, And, it's your intention, and people will be calmer. I've noticed that when I've done that, Yeah. But I didn't have any intention of doing that with the kids. I just popped in there, just saying, "Oh, go ahead, I get to read with you," And they caught all the stuff. They caught my colors, and they caught, It was interesting. Children can really see more than you actually give them credit for. They see who you are. You can't put your mask down on a child; they'll pick it up right away. Because most of the time they haven't been taught that they're not supposed to see that. So they just come out and they just say it, which is really cool. So
I've had strangers walk up and say things to me like, you are a really good person, or similar things. Is this due to them seeing my aura?
a lot of times a lot of times that will work. If somebody sees you, and I've seen people, and I say, wow, I said, you're just such a good person. And I said, I just wanted you to know that, And people look at me like, what? Yes, you can. People can tell. They can pick up if you're a good person or not. It's amazing that people will say that. They have the courage to say that, because a lot of people are always afraid of what people think of them and what they say of them. And I have something good to say to somebody. I don't care if they're a stranger. I'll just go up and say, oh, you look really nice, or your hair's attractive, or I could tell that you're a really good person, and thank you for what you do in this world. And they'll look at me like, whoa. But if somebody says that to you, they mean it from the bottom of their heart, and they can see somewhat of your aura.
I actually kind of have two, so but I forgot the other one. So what? Oh, yeah, actually, I remember now. So what can you do to cleanse your aura?
What can you do to cleanse? You can use sage, and you can bring the sage up and around. That's what I usually do. I usually use sage to cleanse my aura. Or if you have somebody that does the work, they can cleanse your aura. I know how to cleanse people's aura but you can cleanse yourself with use sage and have this intent that you want to purify yourself, and you're thanking the world for that, and that'll clean your aura
How often should you do that?
whenever you feel like you need it.
Okay, and then
Huh?
My daughter almost put her apartment on fire doing the same.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then so you mentioned that people who aren't glowing are close to death. Do the auras ever dim or like get brighter based on how the vitality that someone's feeling?
You mean when they're close to death?
Like just like if you're low on energy, does it dim? Or if you're like feeling really like healthy and like
What happens on people's auras when they're sick, their auras are more like a pale color, or they can have a gray color in them. But when you're close to death, unless it's and I've seen this, unless it's like a sudden death. I seem to have a little bit of a psychic ability, and there was this truck, and I had a Corsica at the time. The tires were as tall as my car, and I was taking my ex-husband to a doctor appointment, and this truck was next to me, and we were hitting one light after another light after another light. And I told him, I says, boy, I would sure hate to be hit by that, because then that would be the end of me. And there was a white van in front of him. Well, the next light he didn't stop, and he crushed the guy in the van, and he actually went around like a washing machine. But he had, his aura, he had an aura, and then it went poof, just like that. So, it was a sudden death. So he was fine, and then it was suddenly the guy he didn't cause the accident, the guy behind him did. So. But for the most part, when you're getting ready to die, what happens is your aura pulls inside of you, So that's why when I saw that gentleman, at my work, and he didn't have an aura, or he wasn't glowing, I didn't know at the time what that meant, So that's when I went to look for him. Then I found out he went into the bathroom and died. So, so that was, but what happens is, go ahead. I'll finish that. What happens is when you're getting ready to die, you pull yourself back in so that it can be released.
okay.
Okay?
And then sorry, last question. Does eating certain like foods or living like having negative life habits like affect your aura, like like smoking or drinking or things like eating unhealthy versus being super healthy or exercising a lot? Does that affect like the vitality of your aura?
Well, eating unhealthy or smoking, it's certainly what happens when you do things that are unhealthy. What happens is it puts you might be a lavender, but you'll have gray around your aura. It'll be like kind of like cloudy or stuff. Because I have a friend, and I had to peek at his aura once because he told me he didn't want me to, but this particular time I had to. And it was just to reassure him he wasn't going to die. And but because he's a smoker, he's got a lot of grayish in his aura, which is it's really not good for you, and it's so eating healthier, the better you eat, the more you take care of yourself, the brighter and more glowing your aura is.
Awesome, thank you.
Do you think that the aura photography is accurate, and does that pick up the core aura?
I think that aura photography shows what you are, what your emotions are, and what you're feeling in that particular moment. It may or may not pick up your core colors. When I see it so mitred of colors that it's hard to find out, because it's the heat and signatures of your organs and everything else. But it's a good idea to, if you want to look at, to see what your emotions and everything are at that particular moment. I'm not going to say anything negative about it, but sometimes I can find the core color and sometimes I can't. Depends on how much more is going on at the person at that particular moment.
Can you feel an aura rather than see it?
I have showed people where I would have them put their hands around an area, about somebody's aura, and they could feel a little bit of a tingling, Sometimes when people get too close to you and you feel like, whoa, you're too close to my space. You're actually feeling your auras, touching without necessarily your permission. Because when you feel this, whoa, you're in my space, you're feeling the aura, and it's too much, it's too intense, and you need him to back up just a little bit.
Because I feel it all the time. Certain people I know, it's like, you gotta go away.
Right. Oh,
Others are okay for me, but
I've actually had one person, everybody has somebody in their life that doesn't like them, right? I'm no exception. There was a person that I could feel them coming, and we weren't even seeing each other, I didn't even see them anymore, but they happened to be driving down the same road, and I knew they were coming way before they came, because I felt that, do-do, do-do, I felt it that intense, you hear the shark attack music. I'm hearing the shark attack music as I say, oh, that's why, So yeah, negative emotions and negative, feelings, you'll feel, I don't know, maybe you'll feel, I feel it really intense. For the most part, I don't have many people like that. I think I can only think of a couple. I'm really fortunate, thank you, that most people like me, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes just like everyone else. But yes, sometimes you will feel that negativity. So, yeah.
Have you seen people take into themselves colors of auras that were around them?
I have seen when I used to do couple auras, when I used to do having couples, and I would see their auras together, and I would see if they were compatible. I would see their auras blend with each other, and sometimes it was like, I'd say, well, I'm sorry, you may be doing okay, but I don't believe that. You're going to have to work at it. Is what I'm saying, because they just didn't blend well. So yeah, you can take somebody else's colors, as a couple, and by the way, that particular couple didn't work. They ended up, I didn't really have to say too much. They just were not compatible, and compatibility, the aura colors just kind of blend together, and like sometimes yellow and green make blue, or yellow and blue make green, or whatever. And sometimes it's the same color, aura colors, and some colors just do not go together. Like purple and orange probably wouldn't go good together. So yeah, I've seen people take on other people's because they've been attached. They're trying to pull the other person into their aura colors, so their colors will blend, but sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not.
Is the outline of the aura field distinct and defined, or does it diffuse and almost fade from view? When looking in the mirror, I can see a half-inch of transparent glow around my face that's very distinct.
Yeah, that's, once again, you're seeing the aura colors. You're seeing your own aura. And yes, it can be very distinct, very close to your face. It can be very distinct. It all depends on the person's eyes, and how they view it. And I've seen it very distinct, and then I've seen it like spiraling out. I've actually seen it kind of go in spirals around. I've seen it do different things. But the one core, that's kind of like your core color, is really close to yourself. So you're seeing the beginning of your core color, whether or not, and it's okay if you never see the color. It's a way that the fact that you're even seeing the energy around yourself and your aura, that's a good beginning. Because that's what I always tell people. I tell them to soften their eyes and kind of don't look at their face, just look like at their shoulder. look past yourself, and then you're able to kind of see an outline, or see something, some type of energy.
When I talk to someone emotionally, like sad or angry, I can feel the static electricity running in my body. Would that affect my aura?
Well, it'll probably bring some. When your emotions, when you have emotions, if you anger is red, love is red. Anger and red, they're like there's two sides of the same coin. You love and hate. You can't hate unless you love, and you can't love unless you hate. Because people, they get married. They're wonderful for a while, and then they get divorced, and then they hate each other, but they loved each other too much, and they weren't willing to compromise. So yes, the colors, that's, besides your core color, you have a lot of different colors. Red is an emotion. You can have green, is that you want to try to heal somebody. You can, if you're looking at somebody and you're trying to analyze or trying to, pick up what they're making, make common sense to you, you'll find a blue, because that's your analytical part of your brain. You might shoot a blue at them to try to say, I'm trying to understand this, and some people, you don't really want to ever shoot black at somebody, no matter what, you don't want to do that because unfortunately, karma, you send something that's like bad intense, karma will kind of get back to you. You don't want to be negative to people because it just kind of comes back to you. So you always want to try to be positive. But when you see people with gray or black around them, it's not that they're necessarily a bad person. And what happens is they're going through a lot. They could be going through grief. They could be going through tragedies. They could be going through emotions, and depression. My mom had a lot of black and around her, a lot of times because she was very depressed, having to repress her own personality in order to cater to my father, because I didn't understand that when I was a little kid, I didn't know what those meant. I didn't know it was any big deal. She would have that for a little while and then she'd lighten up and she'd see me and then she'd give me hugs and I'd get my pinks and, stuff, but she only did that when I was real little. And after that, I didn't get any hugs after, after I was little, they kind of stopped. But, but when I was real little, she hugged me. But then she had my sister, and then there was responsibilities, and then just kind of, I was just a third parent, So.
Can you talk about the concept of tears in an aura or having a hole in your aura and like why that would need to be, why would that happen? And then how do you repair that?
Well, a lot of times when you have a hole in your aura, when I was talking about when you're repairing auras, what happens is you can hurt yourself physically, and not only does it physically, like on an arm or a leg or something, or even a head. You have a head injury, you'll have a little bit of a tear, and that's so that when you have this tear, you can get sick from that because you don't have the protection of your aura. So I used to take my needle and thread, and I would sew it up. Not really, but psychically, I would see each stitch as I was doing it. I would see that, and then I would make sure that I pulled it together, and I would mend it. I did that, and I did see tears in people, and because they were having health issues, and they would have headaches, and I would see a tear in their aura, and I would repair that. Or a lot of times I repaired knees. Sometimes it was a back, So, I believed that I did that. In my mind, I saw it. I watched the aura close. I watched it. I saw the gap, and I sewed it up. And I repaired it, and it healed. And then after I sewed it up, it became smooth. And a lot of times it was just from mostly accidents. You know, people would get a head injury or an arm injury or something like that. And I don't know why they tore. I didn't really know auras could tear, but I saw them. So, and that was back in the 80s. So I just sewed them up and said, okay, you're done. Now, somebody else might have tried to do something else with it. And I'm just telling you what my personal experience is. I don't know if anyone else has ever seen them, but I have, So when I saw them, I fixed them because I wanted everyone to be healthy and happy. And it was always my intent to give, healing and help to everyone. I never, ever wanted to see somebody suffer, and whatever I could do to make them feel better is what I always tried.
How does meditation affect an aura?
How does meditation? When you meditate, you're actually healing yourself. But when I was doing this in the 80s, remind you, back then, New Age, everything was new, and so people weren't really meditating as much back then. I mean, meditation. Everybody knows meditation now. Back in, I lived the 80s. Meditation was okay. We have these people going, so then I would do it the opposite. I go, moo, I had to be different, but there wasn't so much of, meditation was kind of, it just wasn't on the table as much as it is now. I mean, when Ethan was talking to you about the 80s to now, I've seen a big change. In the 80s, there was this one little newspaper and it was free and, they had the advertisements paid for it. And you'd look through all this and see all these different groups and you're thinking, oh, okay. And then you try to find something you might be interested in. Now, you just go online and you could find your people. Talk about amazing. You don't have to go drive somewhere, find a paper, look through it all, and try to look through all these articles, and your eyes are crossing after a while, and it was the way I felt back then. It's like, oh my goodness, and now I just can get, it's just amazing. You get on the web and you type in Flower of Life and you get all this stuff, or you type in metaphysical and you find all these places where you can meet, So, it's just amazing what things have done. And yes, meditation, what I feel and what I've seen when people are meditating, they're helping their own spirit, their own soul. And that reminds me of a little story. Now, I told you I'm always going to jump around. I was privileged to be at a birth of a child. I went through all the rigmarole you have to do, all that stuff, and it was with a deaf person. And when this baby was born, the soul, the energy, the aura was on top of the head. When the baby breathed in, it was on the top. When the baby breathed out, the breathing out was when the soul came in the body. And everybody was quiet until the baby cried. Now, I've heard that this happens a lot, So for me, it's like, can you imagine, your soul isn't your soul until you actually have the breath of life. That's why they call it the breath of life. And it was so beautiful. And it just, it has to do with auras. And I can't even tell you how odd I was to be able to see that, way back then. And that was, oh gosh, I don't remember how many years ago. Probably in the 70s or 70s, probably in the 70s. Yeah. So anyway, that was, that just kind of triggered that other story.
Can I do another one? Sorry, just have a lot of questions. Do you see chakra centers in auras?
I really don't. I know that, they're there. And once in a great while, if I really totally concentrate, I'll see a little bit of the spin, but I don't really see them. I know that they're there. I know that, they're around, but I don't see them, and I think that would be really hard on me if I was watching everybody spinning around all the time, So I mean, it's bad enough seeing everybody glowing, and then to have the spitting on top of it, it's like, oh, I think I'd want to run away. So no, the answer is no, I don't.
We're about halfway, but there are a few more questions, so maybe you want to take those and then take volunteers, maybe?
Okay.
Okay. You sort of answered this one, but just in case you have any more thoughts on this, what creates a tear in an aura, and how would you recognize this in yourself, and how can you fix it?
Okay. Well, I haven't seen many tears since usually when I would see a tear in an aura was because I was working on people with their energy, or I would see a weakness in their body. And then when I'd look at their body, then I would see the tear in their aura. And what I did, I used my psychic needle and thread, and then I used a crystal. I actually used crystals to kind of heal with the needle and thread to make sure that I had everything. Because not only do I do aura, but I use my crystals. And my crystals and my rocks, they talk to me. I know that's kind of weird, but they do. I did bring one of them to talk to me, but it begged me to buy it from a shop up in the UP, so I did, So I just utilize them as they tell me how they want to be used. So, and when I repaired it, it's because you have a weakness in your body. And sometimes that weakness will, I'll actually see a tear, and I just close it up and heal it.
When people move slowly, or I move my hand slowly, then it seems that something of that energy stays, like drawing in space. Is this part of an aura?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. You can leave the energy imprint if you're moving your hand slowly. The energy can slowly follow you. Yes, that is possible, because I'm just seeing it right now. Yeah, I can see it here and here. So, it's following me. So yes, that is true.
Is the ability to see auras tied with how emotionally balanced a person is, or does it have nothing to do with it?
Oh, it has nothing to do with it. I mean, I don't know how emotionally balanced I am. I actually believe that anybody can see an aura, and I just think that when we were young, we were programmed when we colored outside the lines. Well, my parents didn't worry about how I colored. But a lot of times when my granddaughter was coloring coloring on the lines, they said, "Oh, you got to color in the lines." No, she don't. She can color. This is how she sees it. Just leave her alone. She's fine. So don't correct your children. Let them color however they want to. It keeps their mind open. I think the worst thing I actually think one of the worst things we have is television. Because what happens is television, you don't read. You don't go outside. And same with these games. I never see children. I don't see them playing outside like they used to. They're inside playing their games or watching television. I think that parents need to, that's only my opinion, and you parents can do whatever you want to do. I'm not trying to tell parents how to raise their children. Everybody has their own opinion. But in my opinion, that the children need to be outside more. They need to get back into nature. They need to expand their minds. They need to stop, being brainwashed. I took a test on myself years ago, and this is another story, but it's a true story. I decided one day I was going to do nothing but watch television that whole day. And then I went to the grocery store. I found myself trying to grab for the products I saw on the television set. I saw myself doing that. And I said, oh my goodness, these products are brainwashing me. So I don't watch commercials anymore. I'm sorry, commercials, I don't watch you. I'm sorry, I really am, but I don't like commercials because I don't want to be brainwashed. But I mean, I could see how people could do that. It was an experiment for me, but I saw how that could happen, but I really do think, we're suppressing their imagination, we're suppressing it. But if you have an open mind and you clear your mind, I believe that if they want the intent, and that everyone can see auras.
Okay, we're gonna take one more, and then we'll come back to questions afterward.
Okay.
What's the best way to keep a healthy aura?
Best way to keep a healthy aura is to eat right, think right, and just love yourself. Loving yourself keeps you healthy. Don't doubt yourself. Love yourself. Appreciate yourself. And eat properly and try not to. I mean, if you're social drinking once in a while, I'm not going to condemn having a drink once in a while, but don't overdo it. They always say everything in moderation. Try to do everything in moderation, and that keeps your aura a lot healthier. I like to walk around a little bit, and just take a deep breath and just kind of relax. Actually, I would like to see you as a couple, come up. Would you, after, would you like that? Of course. Okay. Well, I see that you're a lavender, but you're the light lavender. Your goal, besides the fact that you're naive, and you're not going to be anymore. You're going to anything that you choose to do, you're going to do well. But the one thing about lavenders is they got to find their way. And once you find your way, you're going to be excellent at it. So it's pretty, but your energy is not real strong. You must have gone through something, or your health wise, or something's been going on that's pulled your energy down a little bit. So just kind of breathe in deep and give yourself some more love, and you're going to stretch it out, and it's going to be better for you. And would you like to come up, because I'd like you to stand together, and I'd like to see the combination of both of you. Because I used to do this as couples. Well, you know what? You're both lavenders, and your auras together, they blend so beautifully. Now you're a little bit darker than her, so you balance her out. And the combination of you're darker, you're lighter, and then the combination is right in the middle. It's just beautiful. So, wow, that's wonderful. Thank you. Hi. Well, oh my goodness, your aura is so bright. Yay. Yeah. I mean, I have to tell you that this one, yeah. She has improved. You're just absolutely glowing right now. You're just a lot of work. Yeah, I can tell. You've expanded your aura, and you have a lot of yellow in your aura now. Really? Really, yeah. I mean, besides your lavender color, you have a lot of yellow in you, so you've been working on spirituality, and I can see it. I could see that coming into your aura. It's amazing. Any holes or tears? Let me look. No, everything looks good right now.
You've never done Kevin and I together.
I know it. Get up here, Kevin. Would you like to get up here? Okay.
It'd be interesting. I don't remember what Kevin's core color is.
Come on. Well, see, he's the green.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the green, and you're the lavender. So let me step. I gotta step over here, and I gotta look at your auras together. The combination of your colors is just it's a blend, and they're kind of going like this, the colors. It's good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's showing that I'm actually watching. I'm seeing her color go into his and his going to her. It's just like this in a circle, so that you're so connected that your colors are enhancing each other's.
Well, we just celebrated our 36th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations!
We spent a lifetime
Yeah.
together.
So yeah, may I give you a hug? Oh, that's wonderful. And you're just amazing.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, the Crystal Circle probably really did a lot.
Oh yeah. You've come so far, and oh my goodness, you're got such a good connection now, a really healthy, really good connection.
It wasn't before.
And- Do I have to tell you? Let's put it this way. You've come a long way and you've done so well. Yeah, you really have,
Been
you know.
working on it.
Yeah, so, and I'm so glad that you came here. You know, and I know that Kevin really appreciates it too, because, you know, you've come a long way. I mean, you look awesome.
Thanks.
You really do.
I
And
come
so-
for my checkup every time Barb's here.
So yay!
Thank you. It's all you. It's good work.
Well, I see yellow, and you're a yellow too, which is the oldest and the youngest of the aura colors. So that means that, you know, you're like Ethan and I, where you could be on the spiritual side, but you also, one of the downfalls of us yellows is that we can feel too sensitive, that people could say things to hurt us, but you know, I mean, I think for a woman, it's more than a woman. Than a guy's you can say, oh yeah, whatever, you know. But a woman is they're more sensitive than a guy. But what happens is, because you have that, you're interested in spirituality, and you're going to grow in that, and it's going to help you become a better person, you know. And obviously you're here, so, I mean, it's a good thing, and I encourage you to come back, or, you know, help out, volunteer, you know. What's going to happen is it's just going to grow you in your spiritual path. Okay?
I just started this maybe a year ago,
Uh-huh.
believing in spirituality.
Right. So, I mean, that's only going to be growing better for you. And I see you're interested because I see some pink. What I do is I see yellow, and I see pink, and I see a little bit of gray that you know, a little bit unsureness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
More sure then.
may I have a hug?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Can we do ours together?
Huh?
Can we do ours together?
Sure. Well, you've got a lot of pink around you. You just love him.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, it is so obvious. Your pink is overpowering everything else when you're together. So your pink and the yellow together, the combination is just beautiful. And it's almost like a rainbow color, you know, with the two colors combined. So, wow, you guys are a good couple.
So what is my core?
Your core, he needs to sit down. Your core, you got so much, you're a yellow too, but when you're with him, you've got so much pink because you've got so much love for him. Okay. But you're a yellow too. So that's probably one of the reasons why you hit it off. Like I said, we're oversensitive.
Right, I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now that you know that,
I'm not going to be.
you're not going to be, yeah.
Okay.
But you're also going to take this spiritual path with him because he's on the path, and so you're going to come with him. And you're both going to grow, you know.
Thank you.
Sure. But I like the way I see that pink. It's like, wow. Okay, you next. You know, I saw a lot of green around you when you were over there. You know, so it was like you were, you know, trying to heal from something, you know, or, you know.
Health issues.
Huh?
I have health issues.
Yes, but you're actually, your core color is yellow, but you've got a lot of green around you, so you're working on healing. So you got a two combination color here. You know, the yellow is it's about that way you know, around you. And then on top of that, you've got this green color around you to try to,
A lot of green.
a lot of green to try to help heal you.
lot of green.
It's working on trying to work on your health issues. And I mean, that's where I, you know, say when I say the core colors, sometimes I'll see those other colors coming in. The green needs some more help, so, because it's kind of pale, and it should be more rich. So you need to, well, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I don't, you know, but the green could, you know, I mean, you know, I'm just saying that,
More health
right,
conscious.
yeah. You know, maybe go see somebody that is supposed to be a help person, because the green needs some help, but you do have green around you, let you know that you're trying to heal, but there's something definitely going on with your body. Yeah. Because your yellow is extremely pale. You know, it's almost washed out.
I know.
Yeah, so.
I don't know even know why I'm here. I don't even know how I found you people.
Well, I'm so glad you did.
What am I doing here?
Well, because you were meant to be here. See, you know, nothing, there is no accidents. Nothing happens without a reason, you know. And the fact that you found us tells me that,
I'm trying.
yeah, you're trying. And I really encourage you to come back and take care of things. And I'm so glad you came. Oh, I really am glad. Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else that wants to come up? Okay. We got a lot of pink around you because you just love the fact that I asked you to come up. But you got a lot of green. But you got a lot of green around you, so you're the type of person that if you put you in a 9-to-5 box, you know, one of those things, and that's where you had to work, you would die. You could not do that. You're more good with nature. You're the green that's good with nature and animals and children, and you know that's what you want to be. You want to be in that either. You either want to help children, or be with the animals, or help with the nature. That's your color green, and that's your niche.
I just got a new job as a nanny for a child.
And there you go. Yeah. So see, once again, right on spot. No. Thank you. And you're gonna love it there.
I do.
Yeah. Okay, is that it? Everybody? Oh, you want to? Okay.
I have to let everybody else go first.
Oh, okay. Save the best for last, right? Well, you're a yellow, but you're green. Your yellow is your core color, but you've got a green around you too. And so that tells me, I mean, because they're almost intermixed, and it's not the healing green, it's the green that is trying to help you enjoy nature more. Yeah. But so, I mean, the yellow is your innocence and the spirituality and that, but you've got this greens coming in and say, nature, 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 you know. So that particular green is telling you that you need nature more. You need to go for wood baths, you know, go in the woods and bathe in the trees, you know. Everyone ever hear of wood baths? You know, where you go into the woods and you let the energy of the trees be, you know, you just accept them as you go through the woods. I mean, I'm always hugging trees. Oh, you need to be hugged. Oh, you need to be hugged. Yeah. So that's what you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Sure. She pressured you, huh? You're a pale green, you know, and yeah, you're like you're almost a yellow green. You know, there's a color called yellow green, you know, and that's what you are. You're not yellow and you're not green. You're a combination of both of them. So not only are you spiritual, but that particular one is you want to help people in some way, shape, or form. You want to be giving to others. You want to help people. That's kind of like your niche. If you can't help others in some way, you're not happy, you know. And that's in that, you know. And the yellow part of it's going to be that spiritual part that you're going to grow, you know. And I don't really see many people like that. So you know, I didn't really realize that this is a core color, but this is a core color, this yellow green, you know, and that is your core color. You know, new colors are coming all the time. And so, I mean, I'm thanking you for coming up because I just saw a new core color. You know, so that's a yellow green, which is, and I don't even know the name for it. It's yellow green as they're mixed together, you know. But you will be, you know, I mean, that's your niche, to help people.
Yeah. The funny part is my degree is social work, but I don't want to do it in the mainstream world anymore. So yeah, it makes so much sense.
Right. Yeah. So that's probably why you're having this struggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why your colors are like that, because I have never seen, you know, that particular color. So you're worrying with yourself. This is my niche, but I'm pulling drag down. Did you ever feel like you could help people other than social work?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, like volunteer for a hospital, or, you know, or visit people another way, or go see old people, or not necessarily social work, but something along those, or volunteer or work at a you know, nanny school, like she was, you know, helping out the children. Somewhere in there, that's what your niche is, and not necessarily trying to tell people what to do, but what your niche is to help other people, because what it does is it rewards you. I mean, it's when you give something to somebody, they give it back. When you tell somebody what to do, a lot of times you get it back like that. You know, you don't want that anymore. You want this. You know, you want this flow. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? You want to come up? Okay. I have never seen so many yellows in my life as coming up here. You are another yellow, you know. But the things have been going on with you, so you've got some gray around you. You've been having some kind of issues, because I see some gray in you. So what you need to do is kind of, well, you know, maybe outside, not in an apartment, outside, maybe smudging yourself. You do some smudging, you know. Watch my video about healing circles with crystals and rocks. Get yourself out in nature a little bit more. You know, that'll strengthen your aura, because it's kind of weak right now. But being the yellow, being the youngest and the oldest of the aura colors, we tend to be oversensitive. You know, we tend to take things from people that have to say, well, oh, you know, we're not going to do that anymore. Us yellows, we're not going to do. Us women yellows, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to be strong and brave, and we're going to stand up for ourselves, and we're going to do good. Oh, sure. No, you're agreeing. Yeah, you're green. Let's see if there's anything going on with you. Actually, you're a green. I mean, you're not a green. You're a lavender. No. What's there? No, you took her lavender over here. Okay. No, you're a green. I'm looking on this side. The lavender was sitting next to him. That wrapped around you. But no, you're a green. Let's see what kind of green. You're a see here, green is coming through. You've got so much of her lavender wrapped around you right now. You know that. I'm just trying to. Let's look somewhere else because that was on the. Okay, the green right here. I can see this green coming up just like that. Just reaching way up to the ceiling. Oh, it's so pretty. It's a medium green, which is kind of like a healing green color. Working with people, healing others, working with other people, or working with animals, helping somebody. You know, I don't think you want to go in the field where the doctor. That's not quite the color, but with you to help other people, you've already done that. I mean, you could. There's your trophy right there. You know, that. I mean, really seriously. You know, and so yeah, this just keep up the good work, and just. Maybe go hug a tree once in a while. Would you like to? Sure. Why not? You're a yellow with a lavender overlay, and the yellow and the lavender color is in your case is more like a healing. Because greens and lavenders can heal. So I see the yellow is right here. I see it that far around, and then I see the lavender coming around you. So there's something going on that you're healing from. I don't know if you had some kind of emotional something or physical or spiritual, but you have a lavender overlay, and that's telling me that even if you're not realizing it, I'm seeing that something's going in there to try to work on healing your spirit. But like I said, the yellows are the youngest and the oldest of the aura colors, and you're one of us, Ethan and me, and a lot of the other people. But with that lavender overlay on there, it's telling me that there's something going on in your life. I don't know if it's upset with family or something with a job or something, but there's something, and you're not going to tell me when it's just okay. It doesn't matter because you know what it is, but I'm seeing it. And I'm not going to go any deeper than that. Because I don't like going too deep on people. If I really tried to go deep, I might embarrass someone, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I always try to keep it, limited and light. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up. We're all set now, right, everybody? Okay. All righty then. Well, that was fun. Is there anyone have any questions or anything? No. Oh, didn't I do your?
I said I like everybody's but mine.
Well, I like your aura too. I'm just saying that you need a little. I'm just encouraging, because I could see that, I can't tell people what to do. I mean, I had a woman that I knew that I believed that she had cancer, but I wasn't sure. I strongly urged her to go to the doctor. I begged her for 3 years. After the 3 years, she died of cancer. And she finally went to the doctor. She had cancer. It was too late. So if I strongly urge you to go take care of yourself, please do. Okay, all right. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, you know. That's not my job. All my job is just to see what you have, and, you know, if I think that, you know, you should just take care of yourself. Because I love you all, and I don't want anything to happen to anybody.
Got some more questions. As a patient who has had a limb amputation feels phantom pain in that limb, is the aura seen where an amputation occurred?
Yes. Your aura is still there. I don't know if you've heard of Korean photography, where they took a leaf and they actually cut it in half, and then they took the picture of the leaf and it still had the memory of it being whole. Well, your aura is the same way. Even though your limb is gone, the aura will still be there, and it's the energy and of the limb will be there, even though you don't see it, or it's gone.
Can you see auras in videos, or do you have to be in person?
I have even seen pictures. It all depends on how it's shot. You know, I have seen auras in videos, but sometimes videos move kind of fast. So, because I learned to turn my aura reading down, I need a little bit to hold it. So if I can put it on pause, I might be able to see it. But I've taken pictures. You know, I've had this one woman. I went over to LA Cafe, and I was looking at people's auras in their pictures. This woman showed me a picture of her son and his friend. And I said, "Oh, he's trouble." I said, "You need to get your son away from him." And her son just about fell over. And she said, "See, I told you, you know." I mean, this guy was just heading down the wrong path, and I didn't want her son to go down there with him. So yes. You know, the one thing about pause on videos is sometimes it shakes. So, you know, that'd be kind of hard. It'd be better for a picture. And then it'd be 50-50. I mean, I see them on some and I don't see them on some. Depends on how they're shot.
What can you tell us about the aura of animals? Is there any connection between our auras and our pets?
Well, usually, most of the time when I see an animal, they're a pure spirit. You know, unless they've had, you know, they've been damaged, and then, you know, by, you know, abuse or something like that. So they're like a pure spirit, and I've always seen them as white. You know, my kitty's white. You know, I have never, you know, I've seen, you know, an abused animal, and they've got some red around them, or, you know, because they were hurt, you know, and sometimes they'll be, you know, snarly and, you know, not trusting, you know, and sometimes I'll see a little black around them, which is really sad. I don't like seeing stuff like that, you know. But yeah, most of your animals are pure spirits, and they'll be white, you know, and they love you. It's unconditional love. You know, you take something in your house, in your life, and they give you that unconditional love, and they have a white, pure spirit.
Kayla wants you to tell everyone why you double hug everyone.
Oh. Well, the left side is the masculine side, and the right side is the feminine side, and the right side is heart to heart. So I don't want to ignore anybody, the male or the female. So I have a little French in me. So that's why I always double hug. French, if you ever notice, they always double hug. But I always want to give everyone a heart to heart, because I mean my heart to your heart, you know. So that's a double hug.
Could you explain why we get holes in our auras after surgery?
Well, once you have surgery, that's because they had to cut through your aura in order to have the surgery, and a lot of times, you know, it doesn't totally heal up, and that's why I was taking this imaginary needle and thread and sewing the aura up. There's other ways you can put an imaginary Gorilla Glue, you know, and you can just kind of seal it up that way. Yeah, probably. We'll have to look at that. But then there's probably off the camera. I use crystals, yes. Well, I do both. You know, I have sealed them up with imaginary thread and using crystals, and just kind of strengthen the area. So I've used crystals. I've used when I wasn't using crystals, I still sewed it up, but the crystals kind of strengthen it and just smooth everything out. So it's a combination. Well, okay, I'm going to tell you now. This has nothing to do with auras. So, I shared the story before the class, so I'm going to share the story. One of the things, I'm not just an aura reader. I do a lot of different things, and one of the things that I have done recently was decide to volunteer to read to the students in my local school. Not only do I read, but I sign, and I do sign language as well as reading. So the kids decided to give me a thank you cards this week. And I've been doing it for several weeks. And I have to tell you, children, they're really spot on to things. And I was just overwhelmed by what they had to say. They said, even though you were only here for a short time, says the moment you walked in the room lit up. That was one of the things they said. Another thing that the children said was, I made them feel like $1 million. That made me feel like $1 million, that I could make, that I did that. Another one said he was glad I taught him later alligator, because he liked that. And so that made me feel good. And then another one said that we laugh at you and with you. You make us feel happy when with your stories. Because I don't just read the book. I tell them stories too. And I never know when a story's going to come up. I love stories. And so anyway, the whole point was that if you're a senior and your school has a program, like this reading program, the rewards that you get from giving is just absolutely amazing. And I certainly would encourage anyone, if they have an opportunity, to take the opportunity to read to the kids, because it makes my heart so warm.
Do all living things have auras like trees and plants? Is an aura basically a sign of life?
Yes. One of my favorite things to do, I have a lot of favorite things to do, but when I'm not doing anything else, I love to watch trees, in their movements and how the wind blows them around. And yes, they have an energy. Plants have an energy. And when the plants are dying, it's like their energy is almost, there's almost no energy in a plant when it's dying. It's so sad that I just have to, if I can't make it feel better, I just put it out of its misery because it's suffering. And I don't like things suffering, so yes. Everything has an energy. That's what's so interesting about our life. So yeah, the energy aura is a sign of life, when a plant is dead, there's no energy there.
How do you suggest practicing to see them?
Well, in order to see an aura, the first thing you have to do is you cannot look directly at yourself. A lot of times they suggest looking at a mirror, but looking past your ear, like around your shoulder. That helps, For me, another thing is when you're in the car, you put your hand down, where it's dark, then you can kind of see you might see your hand glowing. I'll always do that. Okay, all right, how's my health today? Or I'll look in the mirror. Okay, let me look at myself. I look at myself a lot. Not a lot. I don't. Even when I look at myself, I don't always look at my aura because I've learned to turn it down. So I have to focus and look at myself. Okay, we checking out okay today? Oh, I see this little black here. Okay, what's going on? I got a little headache. Okay. work on the headache, little crystal there, little, okay, now I feel better. Let's go on, moving on.
About how long does it take to start seeing them?
Everybody's different. Some people, you have to have an open mind, and not just say, oh, I'm not seeing it right now. I'm frustrated. But you just have to, you kind of have to soften your eyes and believe that you're going to see that energy. And like I said, sometimes it's easier on a light background, and sometimes it's easier on a black background. So, it's everybody's different. That's why when I was teaching an aura class, that I would put people on both sides, so somebody else could try to see him one way or see him another way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, since we don't have any more questions and we've had so much fun today, I've had a ball. I've enjoyed all you out in Facebook land. I've enjoyed everyone in the audience, and thank you all for having the courage to come up here and let me check out your auras. I so appreciate it. This has been really fun for me, and I just, wanted to share stories and just tell you a lot, somewhat about what I'm doing and what I plan on doing, and being able to share a little bit about my life and kind of how it brought me to, utilizing auras and, how I learned what they were. It's not glowing, it's auras. Oh, and glowing is auras. Oh, same, 2 days, same coin, But anyway, I thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I had so much fun, and I so appreciate you. I love you all.
Do you? People are going to want to know, so I might as well ask. Do you do sessions these days, remotely or in person?
Well, I will definitely be doing some sessions at the expo. And if you twist my arm, I could probably try to arrange to do some sessions, but I don't do them too much because I don't like being tied down. But I'll try to work on that, and if I decide to do it, I will have it announced on Facebook, and I'll let you all know. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone.